Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 11th day of the New Earth Summit. Now in its third year, India's first integrative summit on solutions to our problems in health, food, farming, and environment. I'm Sophie Sequeira from the Earthkeepers Connect Goa, your host for this evening. And I extend a warm welcome to our panelists and summit convener Darryl D'Souza, also on behalf of our 10 Earthkeeper groups in India and overseas. We express our gratitude to you for taking time out from your busy schedules to be with us today and to share your insights and experiences so that all watching this live webinar and its recording later may benefit from the holistic science and wisdom being presented on this platform that will help us all co-create a beautiful world. So our topic for today is the Food Masterclass. I will start with introducing our topic presenter for today to the audience. Darryl D'Souza, who has been teaching people how to reverse chronic illnesses with integrated natural therapies for over 16 years. After his own journey of 14 years of illness that almost ended his life in 2004 due to allopathic medicine failing him. His book, Become Healthy or Extinct, as well as his lectures, seminars, webinars, and workshops, and residential retreats on mind, body, and spirit healing, are sought out by individuals and organizations across the globe. Darryl was the secretary of the World United Doctors and Healers Associations for 5 years, during which he curated and convened their annual continued medical spiritual education conferences. Darryl is also an industrial engineer, organic farmer, environmentalist, TEDx speaker, founder of Earthkeepers Connect, ambassador of VeganNation, and convener of the New Earth Summit, as well as a speaker at the World Parliaments on Spirituality. For over 20 years, Darryl has been researching soil biology, animal, plant, and human biology, marine biology, planetary ecology, and holistic living as well, which has inspired him to launch the New Earth Summit as a platform to showcase their integrated and symbiotic functioning. His work is detailed on darryldesouza.com. So for the first hour of this webinar, I have a couple of questions for our panelists, which will be followed by question and answers with our audience at 7 p.m., who may type in their questions in the Q&A box below, even before that time. If you would like to receive the recorded video of this webinar, or you'd like to share it with others, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The New Earth Summit. Now for my question to the panelists. Darryl, if you could share your presentation with us on today's topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie, and good evening to everyone who's here. And I have a presentation that I will just bring up. And through that presentation, I will, deliver whatever I want to share. And then later we can get into some questions on it. So what I'm going to cover today is, in the beginning, a little bit of simple evolution points for human beings and even through our food selection and food choices. Then the next topic is, after all of that history, what is most important is how we can understand what is food now, because what we did in the past with a different mindset and with a different environment has definitely changed. So what is the basis for change, and how our choices today can be based on scientific principles and evidence, which is closely related to our health, right? Because that's the most important aspect of food. Of course, it gives you energy and all of that, but you must also have good health and a long life. So what are those principles and evidences that serve us right now? The third is a very important topic, which is altered food for a altered modern environment. And I'll be sharing some science over there as well, because as we know, we are not living in complete nature anymore. We are living in concrete jungles. So yes, the changed environment also bring forces some changes upon human beings all across the globe. So what are those? I'll get into that. And then finally, this is the question that I always ponder on. When can human beings get back to eating good food that is actually meant for human beings? So, starting with indigenous people, that is, people when they were in their very natural states with villages across the globe, you can see some wordings down, self-sufficient and organic, that because they were mainly natural. This is before the industrial revolution and before, all machines and modern society emerged. So if you look at the right hand side, you can see that their building materials are all natural, and they always survived where there were water bodies. So you can see a river or a sea over there near the boat, and obviously they would take by that location. This is important. By that location, they would eat produce from the land as well as the sea. And in the other two locations, top and down, you can see there are forests and mountains in the background. And that becomes the catchment area for where rainwater, falls the most. And that goes into the land and it comes out as brooks and streams into lakes, ponds, and rivers. So there is water anywhere, all around the place. So now now we have come, this picture is at a stage where quite an amount of evolution happened for human beings. That means they evolved to making their own homes, not just living in trees. They evolved to structures and they evolved to farming. Before they had this intelligence of farming, because what intelligence does farming take? So the basic intelligence is you have to understand the seasons of the year and what time to sow a seed, and when is it going to ripen, and when can you harvest it. Then for the next season, what are you going to do, and for the next season. Then another principle is how do you protect what you have produced from wild animals. The third is how do you have a structured society that is logical, and people agree that some people will make the food, some people will harvest the food and distribute it to others, and for their labor they will get something in exchange in terms of barter. So just to do farming, it takes a lot of intelligence and structure. Now before we had this intelligence and structure, of course we were just hunter gatherers moving all around the place, and trying to pick up from the land whatever we could eat. And once that land all the produce was over, we used to move from there and move to another place and start on that place. So we have realized over a period of time, it's a lot of difficulty, shutting shop, moving somewhere else, and setting up society once again, because our society has become quite complex with the amount of assets and the resources we create around ourselves for a better, comfortable life. So we know now we can no longer just move here and there. So this is what I wanted to present first, because people, when I talk of nutrition, they always go to the point that, hey, one time we were hunter and gatherers, so why can't we just hunt some animals now and eat them? So that was much in the past, before we evolved to a state of organized living. So in organized living, obviously, people will think, yes, there's an option for eating from the land and then eating from the sea, and also from the land means from plants, and then beside the plants, people want to eat animals also. So let us look at that. What has that done to humanity? Now, this is just a picture of what we're trying to create, eco villages. And If you could create your food sources in an organized way, season after season, that would surprise your nutritional and your energetic and your healthy needs, then you could be living in the same place and develop that place into a very complex and complex for the purpose of comfort, convenience, arts and culture, and all the other functionalities that you require in modern society. So coming to the core topic, what is food for human beings? Are human beings basically meat eaters, or we're just supposed to live on plants, or are we omnivorous like the bear, eating fruits and some vegetables and sometimes small animals, or are we completely fruitarians living on fruits? How do we figure this out? The first method that we do in modern life is by thinking really hard about it. And over there, we take all the theories of the people from all across the globe and fill our heads with it. And it becomes so complex that we really can't decide anything for ourselves. This is what, is one of the modern approaches. That's why you have so many people across the globe with 100 nutritional models confusing the hell out of you. Another is by observance, and that of different cultures across the world. And of course, the cultures were also conditioned by their own minds and what the society were doing, and whatever grows over there locally in their location. So what is in your location is a good indicator. But again, when the mind comes into it, as you will see in this presentation, food has got nothing to do with the mind. It has got to do with an experience that you are having. So I will get into that experience and simulate it for you. And this is something that I had done in my TEDx talk. Some of you will remember that. And the last is microanalysis in a laboratory, which is considered the most scientific method right now. And they figure out it's very easy if you inspect the human body and you know there are minerals, vitamins, fiber, fats, bones, and all of these things that you need all of these kind of nutrients in your daily food. That means your plate of food has got to have all of these food groups on a daily basis if you have to survive. So that again makes each meal so complex and difficult to digest that it creates a lot of expenditure of energy, a lot of acids to be produced, a lot of gas also produced in the human body. So, but there is a more, organic way of flowing into different nutrients, which I will present a little later. So do we go by all of these methods, or we go into looking at real evidence, which I say has always been there in the past, it still exists, and it will prove itself forever. So what I'm talking about now, I'm wanting to present is evidence from experience of not only my experience, but your experience as well that I will take you into. So we look at experience rather than all of these theories. So let's say I, invite you to, let's say I invite you to my home in Goa for a vacation where we are doing this experiment on food, and you come by flight maybe, and you reach my home at about 4 o'clock. And then, after we get chatting a bit, it's 5 o'clock, and I just, ask you, are you hungry? Now, even though you may have eaten a good meal on the flight, you look at the time on your watch or on the wall clock, and you said, yes, it's tea time. I would be happy to have some tea and snacks. But then I get back to you and ask you the question again, are you hungry? So hunger is not a time on the watch. It is a feeling in your digestive area or in your stomach. And this is what happens to all other species on this planet. The reason to eat food is hunger, and they feel it somewhere in their belly, like a small vacuum which tells you that, okay, I need to go and look out for food. So I come back to you and ask you that, are you feeling that vacuum in your belly? And you say, no, I'm not feeling any vacuum. And so I reply that, okay, that means this is the first principle that we are following of natural law, which says this: all beings who eat food except human beings, they eat it only after they experience hunger. Otherwise, the rest of the time, they are just roaming around in their, territory. They are protecting themselves or the young ones. They are in the mating game, or they are trying to find building materials for their home. And in the middle of life, hunger happens. Okay, but this is one place where we fail. Human beings uh, eat food as per time, and that's why they end up overeating and stuffing themselves because they're eating when they're not hungry. Now, what this creates is a lot of excess weight. Obesity has become a global sickness. And now, to correct that false step, we have brought in an entire system of deliberate fasting, whether it is fruit juice fasting or water fasting or air fasting. There are such complex models formed, and this is only for human beings. There is no deliberate fasting anywhere in nature. You would have seen a dog or a cat, not eating some food and instead eating some herbs or some plants. That's only when they have eaten some food that has become a little spoiled or toxic and they want to vomit it out. And then they want to go and eat some herbs to heal their digestive tract. So, in nature, there is no deliberate fasting. We have formulated fasting because we overeat looking at the time on the watch. So, the second step is I ask you to make a long list of whatever you think is food for you, what you eat normally in your home, what you enjoy, and what you think is healthy food. Okay, and then you make a long list of it, and probably there are 200 things on a long paper. And I tell you, well, okay, this is wonderful. I'm going to give you all of these things, and then we will see which of these things you prefer to eat. So from that, I can know your food choices. And I, arrange for all these foods, all 200 of them, and whatever is in your list, and I place them, get them arranged for in a long dinner table in my dining room. So then I ask you again at about 7 o'clock, are you hungry? And that time you feel, yes, right now there's a vacuum in my, tummy because I've not eaten anything right from 2 o'clock. So, well, I invite you into the dining room, and there you see all of the full dining room is filled with things, but you notice something very strange, and that is uh, all the food is there in its natural form. That means if you ask me for chicken biryani, you will see dried basmati rice grains over there. You'll see turmeric powder and bay leaves and whatever raw onions, and you'll see one live chicken tied to the leg of the chair. And if you ask me for paneer, something aloo, or these are all Indian dishes, of course. If you ask for, what can I say? Yeah, it's Indian. What could we say for paneer? Okay, I'll leave that out. So let's say another dish of aloo and which is potatoes and peas. Then you see there are raw potatoes and there are green peas with the shell and all kept over there. Then if you ask me and you're a non-vegetarian and you like a lot of beef uh, or mutton or pork, and you ask me for glazed pork ribs, so then you will see or at one uh, side that there is a cutout piece of pork. And if you ask me for fish, you'll see a bowl of water and there are some live fish swimming in it. And well, I say, here is all the food, uh, all the ingredients, all the things that you listed. I've given you all of these things in their natural form. And you ask me, what kind of joke is this? And I say, no, it's not a joke at all. It is the second law of nature, which says that God has provided all species who eat food in its natural and unaltered state. So all species besides the human beings, that are alive on this planet, they have just had natural food. Nobody cooks their food, cuts it, chops it, fries it, bakes it, puts things together, binds it with leaves. No, they don't do any of that. They just find food and they eat food. So when I say here are all, here's all the food, and of course there will be some. If you've asked for some fruits, there will be mangoes that you like from Goa. There will be bananas, and so you see different sections on the table of fruits, raw vegetables that are edible vegetables like cucumber, tomato, and you will see raw cabbage, then raw spinach, and you will see like the rice or the wheat or the millet grains. Then you will see also the pulses like the horse gram or the lentils, the beans and the peas and roots. And then you see this chicken, you see a goat that's walking in the room, you see a cow at one corner standing peacefully, this fish bowl, and this cut pork ribs. So now what are you going to eat? Obviously you're hungry and you think this is a big joke and you will work out this situation with me, but you will first go and eat the fruits. Because why do you do that? Because you think that's the most natural thing to do. If you go to the pork ribs, what are you going to experience? You will see that there is the pork flesh which is cut, you can see the hair on it, you can see the layer of fat, you can see blood, you can see bones that are broken, mucus, and flesh that is cut up and bleeding. So obviously you don't want to eat that in a raw state. It repels you a lot, so you go away from there. You do not want to catch the chicken and kill it, and there's no way you're going to eat dry rice or kidney beans. And between the cauliflower and the cabbage and the spinach doesn't seem so appetizing. But then you go towards the uh, cucumber, tomato, carrot, beetroot. That looks definitely edible. But more than that is the custard apple, the mango, the apples, the chicos, the bananas. So what's happening here? This is your five senses, which are taste, smell, sight, hearing, and touch. In the here and now, telling you the truth about what you are and what you will eat and will not eat. So you realize that fruits are the first, so you go and you eat the fruits, and then you are satisfied. Have you ever, uh, when a good bowl of fruits are there, have you ever eaten fruits and enjoyed their sweetness and stopped in between and then said, no, I want to eat a cucumber. I feel like eating a cucumber. You don't feel like, you may do it for some scientific principle that, I want to blend my fruits and veggies. So at least this time you eat the fruits in your totality and say, I tell you, eat till you're full, and you do that, and then we'll continue the experiment again when you're hungry again. So fine, uh, this part is done, and then we wait for for hunger to come again. And after 7 o'clock, probably you don't feel hungry, but because you've eaten fruits, maybe by 10 o'clock at night, you get up and say that I'm feeling hungry again. My stomach may rumble at night, so give me some food. So I bring you back to the table, and at the table, you notice everything there except fruits. So that group is out. So what are you next going to eat? You're obviously going to go for the carrot or the cucumber, the tomato, or whatever you feel is edible. And you have that. Maybe along with that, just to fill yourself, you may try and eat some dry broccoli or some raw beans, fresh beans. You fill yourself, and then your dinner is done. Well, then you go to sleep, and I meet you the next day, next morning. And in the morning, you're back to, you have your hunger in the morning, whatever time, and you come back to the dinner table, and there you see that the tomato, cucumber, and carrot, beetroot is not there. Then what are you going to do? Well, you do obviously you stop, and you don't want to eat raw, uh, what is that, French beans or bitter gourd or gherkins, and definitely you are not thinking about the dry grains and the beans and this raw meat or live animals. So you sit down for some time, start talking to me about it, and I say, well, there are no other options. We are still in the experiment, so please go ahead with it and go till you can, the farthest. So, okay, you tolerate it and you take some of the raw veggies, and you have, maybe you don't fill your stomach because they are almost tasteless, many of them, and you're done with your morning breakfast. But again, after 3-4 hours, you're hungry. So you come back to the dinner table, and even these raw vegetables are not there. It's just the grains and the beans and the peas. If the peas are soft, you're going to eat some of the peas, but that's not enough. And then you're stuck with the grains and you want to eat something. And then you say, well, I cannot eat these dry grains. Then I play a small clip for you on National Geographic, where they show primates and other species close to us, how they take grains and they put them in their mouth and they soften it for about 5 minutes, and then they start munching those grains. And well, that gives you an idea. So you do that for a little bit, and there's not much of grains you can eat, but you do that. Now, hunger gets satisfied for that time, and then maybe it's the evening again and you're hungry again. So at that time in the evening, none of these food groups are there. You only have the live chicken, the goat, the cow still standing there, the fish in the bowl, and this nicely cut out chunk of pork ribs. What are you going to eat? Well, finally you decide you cannot eat any of these things. You don't want to kill them animals with your bare hands and your teeth. So you said, let's stop the experiment. I'm going to starve and die at this rate. So, well, I don't want that to happen. So we stop the experiment. And so what is this experiment about? And you say, this is the most ridiculous experiment I have ever been in. these things never really happen. But I just bring back to your notice that some of this are called the seasons of the year. And there are seasons in which you get certain fruits and then they are not there anymore. And for certain time you get certain vegetables and they come and they go. And the grains also are there for a certain time and then uh, they are there, but you prefer the other fresh foods over them. Generally in the winters, when you do not have much of fruits and vegetables and you only get underground roots and all of that, then you think of, sprouting the grains or cooking them and eating them. And that also matches with nature because many of the like rice, wheat, and the lentils, they're all complex carbohydrates. So whatever excess you eat, it puts a layer of fat on your body, and that's good for the winter. But when the winter is over and the fresh fruits and vegetables come back, you automatically gravitate towards them. So this is the third law that I have presented to you, which says that the God-given senses of every sentient being, not only human beings, you can say sentient, mammalian, vertebrates, if you want to be closer to this, the human family, every time will tell them, the five senses will every time tell them what is, when food is presented to them, what is and what is not there. And this is the realization that comes from this experiment. Now, I tell you that, well, I can eat meat. And I used to eat at one time. Why? Because I can eat meat, but it must not look like meat. That means it should not be that red and white and, with all that pink flesh. It can be brown. You cook it and make it brown, or you put tandoor masala and you make it, red, or you put some green chutney and you make it green. But please, it should not look like meat. So I can eat meat, but it must not taste like meat. So please, can you put some herbs and spices to change that raw meaty feeling? Then the third is I can eat meat, but it must not smell like meat. So can you please put some fragrances in them of natural herbs so that my nose can get fooled. And finally, when it comes to, touch, I don't want to touch that raw, gooey pork ribs. Can you just cook it, dry it up, and then please give me a fork and spoon? So that the first interaction I have with that piece of meat is that I I take it from this instrument, a fork or spoon, and I put it directly on my tongue. And then my senses tell me, oh, that's tasting nice. But actually, I'm tasting the herbs and not the meat. So that goes in. If you will see in vegetarian countries like India, we never needed the fork and spoon because we had no problem touching our vegetables and putting them directly in our mouth. Finally, the sense of hearing. What is that sound made when you took that food from nature and tried to put it in your mouth? Yeah, when you pluck an apple or a banana, it makes a certain sound, but you're not traumatized by it. But when you go to catch a chicken or you go to catch a pig, it is first of all, it's running across a place, and then when you get your hands on it and try to do something to it, it's screaming its lungs out. And there's a lot of trauma and anguish, and you don't want to hear all those screams. That is why all the abattoirs or all the meat cutting factories, they are far away from the city because people cannot bear to hear the goats and the chickens and the cows, screaming in the time that they're dying. So this is what the last law is, that you can only feed the human body food not meant for it, like meats, only after you fool its five senses completely. And this is unfortunately what we are doing today with all of the exquisite cooking techniques that we have been putting down from generation to generation to eat all of these meats. And that's what is coming on the master chef also nowadays, and that is why people are getting so sick from eating foods not meant for human beings. So the question comes is, because I talked about most of what I talked was the direct experience of food, and all other species on the planet are eating raw food. So should we also be completely raw, or is there some place for cooked food, and what is the scientific basis for that? I brought this picture back because when you live in nature, like all of these people, there is this line below which I talk about, etheric food, which is the 5 elements of nature. Now, what does that mean is the 5 elements are earth, water, fire, air, and space. And when you live naturally in natural surroundings and you walk bare feet on the earth, for example, you get the earth element. When you drink water from the wells or the brooks and streams, which is mineral water, you get the real microclustered, properly ionically charged water, which gives you very deep cellular nutrition. And then for the fire element, you get it directly from the sun. If you're up and about and not sick and sitting in the home, whole day, then air element, of course, the purity of the air, the amount of oxygen and other elements in it that come from nature, very nourishing. And then space is that element which allows your aura to expand, not like in a city where you're cooped up in a house or in your workplace where your energy field cannot expand. So in nature, the human body takes in much more of these etheric elements, and that nourishes the human body. And that is why these villagers eat, they need much lesser physical food because they are getting all the 5 elements in its energetic nature. Um, so, of course, y'all would have seen and known that many of these communities, if they are fishing community, then they will eat up the fish because obviously it cannot be eaten raw. So they will cook it and put spices on it. Then even if they are eating, traditionally, if they are eating any of these grains, okay, they are generally sprouting them and eating them as fresh foods. And then the stored grain will be for those seasons where the grain is not freshly available. So that they will store it, and then at a certain point later time, they will either sprout it or they will cook it. So it was like emergency food. And this is only when the fresh foods around their place are a little low. So a lot of cooked food is not their norm. Now, this is where we have differed and gone into our current environment, these concrete jungles that we live in, which are our air conditioned rooms. They are cutting out all of these 5 elements. You don't get the earth element because you're living somewhere on a high rise, on the high floor. You're wearing footwear all of the time, not getting earthing or grounding. So your earth element is lacking. Then your water element, it is coming through, it's not fresh water, but it's coming from your lakes and ponds through pumps, and then it's treated with chlorine, and it is devoid of any natural bacteria which should be forming the part of your daily intake of healthy gut bacteria. So your water element is also very deprived of what natural mineral water is. Fire element, of course, staying in the city, working in the office, living in an air conditioned home, you do not get the sun element. And air, of course, there you can see the kind of quality of air that's there in the picture, which all of us know in the cities. And space, I spoke about earlier, very congested places. So in our cities, we lack these 5 elements. And that is why we need to eat more physical food to make up for this lack. And that is also why we have begun to eat more cooked food. So what is the healthy balance of raw and cooked food that we should have in this altered environment? Okay, so I'll come back to where nature is a little bit later, where all other species are eating raw food. So now in this altered environment, we have to understand the basic science. You cannot be eating the 100% raw diet all of the time, because if your environment is altered, your nutrition has to be altered to an extent that balances this altered environment. So I'm presenting some points that are there in my book, Become Healthy or Extinct, in the food combination chapter. I've given you the page numbers here. So it says that now this is going as per Ayurvedic principle. What is a kapha body type? On my website, Become Healthy or Extinct, this is where you'll get my book, and there's also a section for these body types where you can go and do these online tests, and you'll get the resultant body type that you have. So it says a kapha body type, which has got a prominence of earth and water element, can remain healthy on a 100% raw diet only because they have an abundance of the earth and water elements that balance out the higher air and space elements that are there in a 100% raw diet. Now, a pitta body type, which is a prominence of water and fire element, can only go up to 75% raw. And a vata body type, which is a prominence of air and space, can only do up to 50% raw diet, because the raw diet has got more of the air and space element. So yes, I just repeated that once again, that the pitta body type can go up to, this is from my own work, working with people over the last 16 years. I have seen the shift in people as they change their balance of raw and cooked food. Because at one point of time earlier, that I thought that raw food was the perfect food for people. And then as I started recommending raw food to people and started having it myself, I could see certain symptoms, negative symptoms, and I'll just talk about it after these couple of points. So what are the symptoms of overdoing a raw diet? Wherever you are, whether you're a Vata body type, Pitta or Kapha, a raw diet, when you do excess, you will start losing excess weight, your skin will get dry, you will start having excess hair fall, and you will suffer from insomnia, that is not getting sleep at night. And in general, you'll become a very talkative person, more anxiety and more anxious. And that's why the word airhead came into play. That is, people with too much, air in their head, they talk a lot and they suffer from these problems. So, what if you go into these symptoms, then you know that you're doing too much of raw. So then reduce the amount of raw, and for every individual person, depending on their body balance, if it's a healthy balance, that is one state, and which you can find out from that dosha diet balance on my website. And in a state of sickness also, people have an altered dosha balance, which is an unhealthy balance. So once they cure their health problems, then they come back to their healthy body balance of kapha, pitta and vayu. There are scores over there which you will see that if your score of pitta is about 90, that means you have got too much of fire element in your body. and there's a diet and some suggestions which will help you bring it down. Ideally, you want to be in the range of let's say from 45 to 65, or let's say from 40 to 65 or 35 to 65. And if you're going above 70 in certain of these three categories, then you have got an excess of that element. Now, an excess of kapha element would be lethargy, too much of cough and cold, feeling dull and not innovative, um, and symptoms of pitta would be feeling a lot of internal heat in the body, also being very short-tempered, quick to action without enough of deliberation and thinking. So these are all there in that on that page of body balance. Very interesting. Please go and do your own uh, yeah check on what your body balance is. And so within the existing framework of plant-based foods that I'm talking about, we can fine tune our body as per our balance of the 5 elements within it. Now here is a very interesting point that I want to make, because these are deep spiritual aspects, and besides spiritual, they are very scientific aspects for those of the people who have been looking at our time cycles, which we call the yugas. And whether you look at it as a circular thing, or I have a diagram of my own, which is a 24,000 year cycle, which is 12,000 years ascending, 12,000 years descending. Then I kind of upgraded my calculations to a 26,000 year old cycle, which is 13,000 ascending and 13,000 descending. And it turns out that in what we call, for example, we are right now in the ascending yuga, that is from Kali Yuga, which is a very dense period. So even human beings' thoughts and their nutrition and the way they conduct themselves in society, it changes during these time periods. So we're just out of the Kali Yuga, which is a denser period of activity and food, and we are now transitioning into the Dwapara Yuga, which is a lighter, more expressive, more intellectual, more artistic, more innovative. So the lighter energies rather than force and physical activity. So also at this point of time, now these are all controlled by the bigger cosmic forces, and Earth is a sub part of it, and we are a sub part of Earth. So this influence comes from big to medium, and then it's on us. So we have to follow and are subject to these cycles. So at this point of time is that our bodies are becoming lighter, which many people across the globe are known, talking about it as the ascension. So our bodies are becoming lighter, and so also our foods are becoming lighter. That is why people have moved from a meat eating culture to vegetarian, and now into the global movement that's called veganism, where it's completely plant based, and there is no space at all for any animal produce, even if it's milk or eggs or honey. So people's energies are changing, their minds and their thoughts are changing in tune with their body experience, and they're experiencing better health with being on a complete plant-based diet. So as time goes further from Dwapara Yuga to now, this Dwapara Yuga is going to go for 2,500 years, and after that we are going to see the next Yuga, which is Treta Yuga. And according to me, in Treta Yuga, we will not even be eating much of the. We will start transitioning from the first thing we will leave in plants is the roots and the tubers. We will stop eating those. Then we will stop eating the body of the plant, and we will only be eating the fruits of the plant once we are completing, Treta Yuga. And when we go into Satyuga, which is 4,400 years. So Treta Yuga is 3,300, and then Satyuga is 4,400. And the starting of Satyuga, we won't even be eating any fruits. We will just be living on sunlight, on earth magnetics, and good energy. So now, is this just mythology or is there any evidence to this? Of course, all of us are experiencing a lot of energetic shifts right from the last, 20, 30 years. We know something has changed. But I would just like to tell you that this is what people are going through, and I've been through this similar cycle myself. Till 2010, I was a meat eater. Then from 2010 2013, I became a complete vegetarian. From 2013 onwards, I became vegan. That means only plant-based produce. And so that's where I'm now. And some people are, getting more fruits into their diet, but that's a lighter diet. Now, this is according to the time cycles that I was talking about, that we'll stop eating, the body of the plant, and at one point of time, we'll only eat fruits. But this is what some people in the world are doing right now. People who live in the forest and are living raw, they are eating mainly fruits and sun eater. So this is what I did from 2009 to 2012. For 3 years, I was taking in the sun directly through my eyes. There's a chapter on my book called Sun Yoga. So I was taking the nutrition directly through my eyes. I learned this from my teacher, Sun Yogi Umar Shankar, who lived on sunlight and just a little bit of water for over 10 years. So what are these called? These are called siddhas. But if any normal person learns it and trains their body to do it, they can experience that. So from 2009 to 2012, my physical food intake went down to 1/3 of my normal requirement. And I would only require 4 hours of sleep at night. Now, why is that? Because I was eating so much, 2/3 lesser the amount of normal food, that my digestive system was not loaded and my body did not need that many hours of rest. It didn't need 8 hours of rest to recover from that expenditure of energy that goes into digestion. So, but then that lifestyle, it required, 45 hours of sun gazing or sun yoga in the morning, followed by 20 minutes of lying down flat with my eyes closed, what we call shavasana in yoga, so that the energy is allowed to be absorbed into the cells, and that becomes your nutrition. But even further than that, now we have people across the planet that are called breatharians. So they mastered the art of not even needing to look at the sun for such long periods of time, but they just tune the energy to absorb. There are meditations, there is Tai Chi, there is certain spiritual practices that invert the energy of their chakras. And so from the chakras, they can absorb all kinds of energy. And my teacher in vegetarianism is Eli Tom Elamin. He's been traveling across India and teaching the science. And besides him, of course, there are many others across the globe. So the reason I'm mentioning this is for people to understand. Now, what are these people doing? They're just training their internal environment and their lifestyle to gain those aspects that we are supposed to gain in 2000, 3000, and 4000 years. So it is so lucky that we can see this in operation today. And this is not a theory. It is not a theory that during the ascending cycles, our energies get lighter, our food gets lighter and lighter. And then once it reaches the peak, again, the reversal happens over the next 13,000 years, where we start eating fruits, then plants, and then we get into denser things. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because if you will tune yourself to these time periods and the nutritional sciences of the period, you will see better and better health. So I can tell you, for the next 10 years, those people who will stick on to meat because of certain scientific principles that they think they are following, they will get sicker and sicker. So I will come to those couple of scientific principles in the next slide that they're hanging on to. So one of these, the them is this: a lot of people are doing, especially the people who do a lot of science, they're doing blood work. And from the blood work, they see that there are certain nutritional deficiencies. And for those nutritional deficiencies, their clients are who are vegetarians. They are saying, well, you are not getting your nutrients from these vegetables, so now you'll have to get them from animals. And so you can eat pink salmon, you can eat wild boar, you should do this, you should have 2 eggs, or you should have beef, and all of that. But the question is never asked of how did these animals, right? We don't eat, carnivorous animals as such. We don't eat a tiger and a fox and all of that. We're mostly eating herbivorous animals. Of course, in the fish kingdom, there are vegetarian fish and then there are carnivorous fish. So looking at mainly goat and whether it's cow and all of that, the question to be asked is, how did those animals get all the nutrients in their body? And if you look at these animals in the natural surrounding, they will be eating just plant foods, and they eat it when they're natural. They eat it from places where the plants are growing naturally on well mineralized soil. Now, if they are getting these meats from factories, then in those factories they are artificially fortifying the food that is given to these animals. So this is the mistake that we are doing nowadays. Why people do not have enough nutrients in their vegetables and their seed, beans, peas, fruits, and everything, is because we are following wrong farming practices, where we are not mineralizing the soil enough, and we are not keeping it organic, and we are putting chemicals in it. So those farming practices, when they're corrected and you get minerally rich soil, then that soil can give you plants that are minerally rich and complete. And of course, we have to use natural heirloom seeds, that is local seeds to the place, which know the soil biology and how to create their microtoxins which fight off pests. Because if you don't use local seeds and you get seeds from some other place, those seeds are accustomed to the soil biology of that place. When you bring it here, it is not matching the soil biology. The plant may not have the right nutrients. It may not do the correct, alteration in its genes to make the right kind of micronutrients to fight pests. And so those plants, they start failing. Then the farmers come in and saying that, that the pests are getting these plants, and they go and put pesticides on them. So that's a vicious cycle. That if you get seeds from some other place and a different soils, and if the soil doesn't match, then you are, putting seeds in a place that is going to fail, and the plants are going to be weak. So when the plants are weak, the pests attack them and the pesticides are put on them. So then you get pesticide food. So all of the people in cities, they are eating pesticide-laden plant food, and they are eating minerally deficient food. So when you do their blood test, you are going to see deficiency. So if we just look at the animals in their natural habitats and what they are doing to eat what kind of plants in what season from what soils, naturally, I'm not talking about the factories, then we will learn some real nutritional lessons. That is the animals that are close to us. And that's what I say, that, we please don't eat our teachers. Let us look at them. So these sciences of blood work are, for me, so hopeless that at one day you can arrive at a point that, okay, these minerals are missing from you. And I think, that person, because if you are ready to eat meat, right, you will say, okay, you don't get the minerals from a fish, then you take it from a goat or you take it from a cow. After all, that's meat. And one day we could arrive at a place, okay, hey, that guy, his blood reports are so good. Why don't we eat him up? So literally, this is the kind of science that is being put forward. And I know everybody knows there was a time there was cannibalism on this planet, but I hope these kind of so-called scientific roots do not take us to a place where we're going to eat anything that has got the right minerals. So uh, for me, a nutritionist is somebody who follows and understands the soil, the entire uh, flow of nutrients. And the flow of nutrients comes from the soil. All of those nutrients get transferred to the plants. And then those plant nutrients come into the animal kingdom or into human beings. And then after if we live our life organically, and after we are dead, we go back to the soil and return the nutrients to the soil. So it's a complete cycle. So for me, deep nutrition comes from this. And this is why in 2015, I became an organic farmer to understand how I should grow the right kind of plants that will give me good nutrients. And so this is really, so there are two ways of doing it. Either you go and you learn from the animals what kind of plants they are eating, plant-based produce they are eating, in which seasons, from what soils, and you learn that science. Or you become a farmer yourself, or you at least talk to farmers who are doing excellent work in soil nutrients. And because all of this, our probiotic gut bacteria that we are lacking in now, it also comes to the same root. Now, here is a very important thing that I want to show is this is the planet, of course, and here's the first point, that the highest amount of plant-based food is produced between these latitudes, or even maybe lesser than 30 degree also. Why? Because there is more sun over here. When you go to as you go up and up north, there's lesser and lesser sun. In places like Canada, there's just sun for 2 months of the year. So obviously they are not going to be able to grow vegetables, a good range of vegetables for the rest of the year. And if you go to the Arctic and the Antarctic where the Eskimos are there, there's virtually no plants that can grow in that place. You just find a little bit of moss, algae, and all of that, uh, which is growing with a little bit of diffuse light that is there. Sometimes beneath the ice, and the fish are eating those small plants and algae, and fish will eat it for whatever 6 months, 1 year, and then an Eskimo just picks up that one fish and it becomes his food. So literally, there are no plants over there. So how are they going to eat plants? So then it comes to light that all the places that have got sun, they are making the plant-based food, and you can be a vegetarian in these places. It's not easy to be a vegetarian at those other places. That's why on the north and in the icy places, people are non-vegetarian. And what happens is countries that are along the equator, they are producing all the plant-based foods, and uh, from those, like for example, India. Just look at this. The third point. India is the biggest beef producer in the world, because obviously cows will not get grass in the snow. So these cows are fed on grass and leaves and all that can only be done in the sunny places where you have a sun for quite a long time in the year, and then these meats are shipped to those other places. So what ends up happening? All of the people in the polar countries, by default, they begin to think that they are meat eaters, and that is not the truth. They would have been there for generations after generations, so their gut microbiome has developed to a point where they digest meat well. And if they come from there and try to relocate to the equator and they switch to our foods, their gut, the digestive systems would go out of place. So while it is scientifically correct that people who have been eating meat for a long time predominantly, if you put them on a veg diet, suddenly they'll get sick. That is true, because their gut microbiome needs about 3 6 months or even up to a year to shift slowly from being able to have the right cultures in the digestive system to eat raw vegetables and cooked vegetables and a lot of fruits and all of that. So this happens for people. This is uh, not our true nature. So, for example, meat eating is uh, is a tradition, but and even gone into the genes because of so many generation after generation. But it is a result of your location. Once people relocate over a period of 3 6 months from non-vegetarian countries that are predominantly feeding on meat, they can come to uh, be vegetarians completely. Now, why am I talking about this? Because to supply meat, whether it is beef or goat or pork or whatever you have, to supply this to all of these places in the world, it requires so much of resources. So that means we have to make factories to make these meat. Of course, we have to, give all this plant produce to all of these, animals across the globe, which is now creating such a big carbon footprint. And, in our presentations, when we uh, giving details on, the the cost that it has to the earth. It's about 10, 11 times of land that you need more to just have a meat eating culture. And even that much more amount of water. So we're using up so much of land, we're using up so much of water, then to make these meat products, then we are creating all the packages to pack these meat products. Then these meat products, we take them from our location where these animals are grown on green belts, and then we put them on trucks, on planes, and those, the amount of transport that is required. So it's all extraction of minerals from the earth to make all your trucks and your transport vehicles. Then to power those transport vehicles, you're making more holes in the earth and sucking up all the crude oil, right? So much of packaging materials, which involve cutting down of trees and forests, so much of glass containers, that is excavation of sand from riverbeds and from the oceans, then so much of mining holes within the earth, and so much of petroleum products, just to do one thing only, that is to supply food to other places. So this is what is the bigger damage to the planet. And there is a lot of space across the globe that even, at the equator level. And if we want to see a future of this planet that is not just 50 years, because all the models that you have right now with this current living model does not see any future of people being able to live on this planet for more than 50 years. So if we are looking at living through this Dwapara Yuga, or if we want all of these things that are predicted, you see, 1,000 years of the golden age and 1,000 years of peace, you're not going to have it with this current model of nutrition that is going around the planet, and this false notion of people thinking they are meat eaters. So that this is a big solution for the planet. Of course, everybody, and I would advocate a plant-based, nutrition model for good health, for longer life, because that's what I have experienced, and for youthfulness, and for reversing your age and all of that. You have seen probably those things on my website, all of my pictures. So it's good health for human beings, and it is good health for the planet. So I think over a period of time, as people begin to understand this more and more, and they can collaborate and relocate, if we want to have an intelligent and better future of this planet. So also you will understand one more point is that uh, the people who are living in these cold places, they do not get sunlight. So, they are not getting enough levels of vitamin D, which is a hormone that is made, but you need sunlight for it. And so the only way they are going to get this vitamin D is through the meats. So that's the second reason that they want to eat meat. So all of these problems will be solved by people relocating and you know coming to places where there is more sun, and all of those people who are having great ideas now of getting away from here and going to colder places, please consider what I've said now, and for better health and for the future of this planet. So this is finally what I think is a solution for all of us in the modern world, and this is what we are promoting. We're trying to make this model eco village in Goa over 600 to 1,000 acres, and I'm collaborating with other organizations in India, for 5 organizations, to see how every state can be self-sufficient, meaning that if you grow your food close to where you are living, there's so much less amount of packing material required, so much less of transportation, and all of those things that I spoke about, which require food to be shipped to other places. So you save a lot of minerals, a lot of sand, a lot of oil, a lot of people into all of these activities of transporting food. And because when you transport it over long distances, you need more preservatives and you need refrigeration. But in this kind of localized model, you can eat fresh food every day with a very low carbon footprint. So this is a real design. And those of you who want to collaborate on it in a deeper way, please get in touch with me. We are looking at all aspects of our living, for designing a better future for not only our health but for the health of the planet as well. And it is all into eco-friendly, self-sustained, local, communities by the people, for the people, with a very low carbon footprint. So finally, I just have another couple of slides. One is that this whole food supply chain. You see, we see so many of the ads, and big companies are producing this and they're doing that. They're all business entities, and they'll keep on marketing and doing the things that they want. But the important point to understand is that this whole food supply chain is driven by the pull. And the pull comes from us in our homes, in our daily food choices. If we will take more and more processed and packaged foods that make us sick, then those things will keep on coming in the supply chain. So you need to stop that and ask for fresh foods. What we do in our dinner tables and lunch, during lunch, or what we do in restaurants. So please attend tomorrow's webinar as well, which is on unhealthy food, and it will get a little deeper into specific foods that are really damaging our health and the ecosystem. Because every healthy food that you have, that you are consuming, it sends the right signal and engages the right natural resources on the planet. And every unhealthy food that you are doing will cause a damage and degradation of the resources of the planet. So we can change all of this just by changing our food choices every day. So just be bothered about your good health, and the other work for the good health of the planet happens on its own. So I'll just wind up with this last slide, because people may ask me in the Q&A, what is a healthy balanced diet. So I will just share overall without getting into specifics, which we can take up tomorrow. So there's a routine which I advise, which is following the circadian rhythms and nature also around you. And I say you should get up to the chirping of birds. So that's how I wake up in the morning without an alarm. That's very important. And that means you sleep also at night at a proper time. And you can start by trying 8 hours. That means if you're getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, then you could go to sleep at 11 o'clock at night. And so after you wake up and this washroom is done, please do some exercise. because that food that you've eaten at night, it's not supposed to remain there and be stagnant. Even your previous day's lunch, energy needs to flow. For health, energy needs to flow. It's flowing in all the other species on the planet, but the human being is getting stagnated. So don't get into this false notion that to start the day, you need a breakfast and you need some energy. Just remember that your dinner is there. You were not cycling or climbing a mountain in your sleep to, burn away all those calories. So please do some exercise. If you do this in the morning, then you know that that storage of fat and buildup will not happen. Okay, you will not have to go into deliberate fasting. So this is an important way. Let the energy flow, let it get spent, and then you will be hungry again after you do any of this work. And what I advise is what I showed in my, the simulation of my dining room where you had the fruits first. So fruits are our first choice, and anybody who does not have enough of fruit in a day, they are going to be deficient of natural sugars. And along with these fruits, there are minerals, vitamins, and fiber. So if you're going to be deficient of the natural sweetness on a daily basis, so here what I've said is just eat one type of food, don't make it complicated, and enough to satisfy a hunger. Now, if you don't do this, your sugar levels will go down, natural sugar reservoirs, and you will develop a sweet tooth. And that sweet tooth will take you into bad habits of eating all of these sweets and things that have got processed sugar to it. And it's tomorrow, maybe we'll talk about that. Everybody knows chemical, processed sugar is harmful. Then they say, okay, take out the chemicals and just give me brown sugar. And then the next level of intelligence is that among nutrition is that why crystal sugar, even if it's brown, let us have organic jaggery, and then you have jaggery powder, right? But still, according to me, that is the fake science. Why are we eating, for example, in India, why are we having sugar cane 4 times a day, every day of our lives? The way God has designed it is that in different seasons, we get different sugars through different foods, and we should be having a rotation. That's what nature is. So when we don't do that, even organic brown, sugar powder and all is malnutrition. You are not having the rest of the sugars that you need. So that's why this principle is so important. It's our basic food. That's why the first thing that you chose was the fruits. Then the next is, of course, the edible vegetables that are tasty and all that. So at 10 o'clock, some people are into more activity and all. They feel hungry easily. So then they can have some vegetable soup or a bowl of sprouts or a cooked millet or grain, a light meal. Now, for those people who are trying to detox, lose weight, or reverse diabetes, have 200 ml raw vegetable juice made out of 4-5 vegetables. Now, I've given a list of these things. If you download my book from my website, which is free, you will get a full paragraph. I didn't want to go into the detail on that. There are different raw vegetables, and for flavoring you could put ginger, you could put black salt, or if you wanted sweet you could put a date, just little sweetening only for some taste. Otherwise this is very nutritious and cleansing. Then the lunch should be somewhere at 12 o'clock ideally, but if you're doing this 10 o'clock routine, then you'll have to keep some gap. If you're doing 8:30 fruit and directly you're going to lunch, then you can do lunch at 12 o'clock. So at 1 o'clock, you can have a raw food, that is a big raw salad. And if that's not enough, you can also have some lightly cooked vegetables with it. So why raw and very lightly cooked at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock? Because that's the time the digestive fire in the stomach is the highest. Okay, so because of raw food, the cellulite, the cellulose is much harder to break down. That's why people generally cook vegetables. But if you do it at 12 o'clock, then it'll be fine. I don't advise this for people who have got chronic cases of irritable bowel syndrome or amoebiasis or Crohn's disease and all of that. So this meal will give you a lot of energy. And if you can get organic and raw and local, that will also, just by simple washing without cleaning it in, potassium permanganate water and vinegar water. Because once you do that, the natural bacteria and all will be gone. So try to have some organic raw food so that you get regular bacteria into your system. And if you can't manage that, then you'll have to go for probiotic foods. And tomorrow we will get into that detail of which are the probiotic food options for you. Then at about 5 o'clock, you can have a herbal tea with a handful of nuts, and change the herbal tea every 15 days so that you get a range of nutrition, and also change the nuts. So on a daily, at one time you just have walnuts, or one day you have monkey nuts, or one day you have cashew nuts. Keep it like that, simpler digestion. And finally, for dinner, have an early dinner. I've put about 8 o'clock here, where you can have your cooked meal, whether it is millets and a vegetable curry stew, or some other vegetable dish at the side, or a big vegetable soup. Now, vegetable soup, generally people do 20% vegetables and 80% water, and that is not going to take away your hunger. It's better you do 80% vegetables and 20% water. Now, in all of this, in between, of course, you can cover all your, fruits are there, of course, then vegetables, nuts, beans, peas, grains. In grains, I've put a millet because I find that they're the healthiest, and especially for people who want to lose weight. Because rice and wheat, excessive rice, wheat, and lentils will make you put on more weight, because the complex carbohydrates and any excess that you have is either stored in the liver or then as fat across your body. So if you want to lose weight, definitely go down on wheat and rice. And if you want to put on weight, yes, you can do lentils. You'll have get protein also from it. And among wheat and rice, I prefer brown rice, because wheat in comparison to rice is more harmful in the long term. So this is what I will just say about having balanced nutrition. And last word is on transition foods when you are sick and healing. Yeah. So this above list is, of course, when you are doing well. But during the healing phase, there will be people who will need to take out certain foods from their diet. For example, when I was suffering from candidiasis, I could not allow any even natural sugars to go into my body, because the candida fungus would feed on it. So I was not even eating the basic food, fruits, for about a year. For about a year and 3 months, I was on just 1, 2 fruits, something like orange and all of that, because we had to starve the candida of natural sugars. So no sugar and no fruits, no dates and all of that. So during your healing phase, yes, you will have to, as per whoever is treating you for your nutrition, you may have to have an altered diet. And once you are cured, then you can come to a balanced diet. And then you can also come to that Ayurveda balance of Kapha, Pitta, and Vayu. Um, and also during your healing phase, you may require some supplements that certain minerals and vitamins in your body may be depleted a lot, so you may require supplementation at that time. So I'm fine for that. I'm all okay with that during your healing phase. If you need additional minerals and supplements, that's fine. But once your healing phase is over, you can be very healthy, provided you eat local, seasonal, uh, organic, that is done on well mineralized soils. So that is finally, coming back to where's the place that we are going to get all of this? And I'll just go back to the previous slide. It's something like this. This is what we are creating, where if you live in and decide to develop or move to a place that will have this local, seasonal, fresh food produce with proper, groundwater wells, which will come from proper rainwater harvesting techniques and all of that, because that's what our digestive system needs. It needs natural water from the land that is healthy for regular intake of the probiotic, strains of bacteria. And if you eat organic also, so if you get proper mineral water and you're eating local and organic, after a few years, when your microbiome is, full of these good cultures, then you can even leave out this additional philosophy of and practice of probiotic foods being prepared and being eaten all the time. So just like fasting is an added principle and a compensation for our mistakes, so also making probiotics and eating them daily is a compensation for us damaging our living ecosystem and all this, natural soil, natural water that we are no longer getting. So I will conclude here, and we can open up for some interesting questions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Darryl, for that amazingly insightful class on nutrition for us human beings. I now request the audience to put their questions in the Q&A box below. We actually have a few questions already, so if I may start.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Vishwa Shah would like to know, what about mixed body types like Vata, Pitta, Kapha, tri-dosha body type?
Yes. So once you've done all these tests and you know your body type. For example, when I was sick, my lead dosha was Pitta, and the score was 92. My following dosha was Vata, and that was 85, and my Kapha dosha was 35 score. So you could see that big imbalance. So what, in my case, what did I have to do? I just went to the section of Pitta pacifying diet and Vata pacifying diet, and I started working on those foods. So that is what you should do. You should, increase the foods that will bring up your kapha to a little bit. So heavier foods, thicker soups, maybe more grains to bring up the earth element within your body. I mean, that was my case. And then I reduced to bring down the pitta. I reduced inflammatory foods like onions, then red chilies, green chilies, black pepper powder. I even reduced fried foods, because that also creates, I cut out milk and milk products completely, because that creates a lot of acid in the body. Uh, so by that, all of my pitta started coming down. And then for the vayu, I reduced salt, which has a tendency towards insomnia, sour food, vinegar-based foods, and the racing mind, calming it down a bit. So as to meditate also. So that's how you should treat this. You can go to my website, or if you have any other Ayurvedic practitioner who knows all of this, then they would advise you, your pacifying diets accordingly.
Thank you, Darryl. We have another question from Vishwa Shah. How do you view vegan meat, such as Impossible Burgers?
So for me, I go very purely with what is natural. So for example, when we started, we were on before I became vegan. I mean, by the time I was vegetarian, I had already given up milk and milk products, because it had really worsened my amoebic colitis and all of that. So I knew milk was the worst thing that I was putting in my body right from 2005. So when people give up milk, you see, they're still with this notion of a white liquid. I want this white liquid. So that's the conditioning. And what is healthier is, you can have teas. Like I have 1 dozen herbal teas in my house at any time, and I enjoy them. They have become like like how you take out a new bottle of wine, in the UK, for example, after dinner, and everybody, thinks of it as some great, tradition. So I offer people different herbal teas. So because I thought, why should I spend my time soaking those almonds at night or cashew nuts at night, peeling them in the morning, putting them in the blender, putting this water to it, then making my tea, then taking off the tea from the gas, and after 5 minutes, putting this white liquid in it. I just said, I need the nutrition from uh, the almonds and the cashew nuts. So I just go and eat the almonds and cashew nuts. So that's where you will get complete nutrition. So people need to break away from so much of their conditioning. Now, if a person has been a meat eater for so many years and they have not really, understood the philosophy of this, and if they're still addicted to having certain thing that is a texture to their meat, I think it's only a shift on a physical level for certain compulsions. It's not a deeper understanding, and it's not certainly not a spiritual shift. I think anybody who's moving from meat to a, to a plant-based diet, there's also a change in energy and consciousness. So I don't view vegan meats as something that a person should be eating forever. Of course, there are many options now, and but I see it as transition food for people who are transitioning from a meat, eating habit to a vegan habit, and for those people, it's okay. And the only thing about vegan food is because I look at food more on its health benefits. So it should not be having preservatives. Anything that's packaged with a shelf life has got preservatives. It's got stabilizers, which is a master chemical that cuts the cross reactions between other chemicals and artificial ingredients in the food product. So we're literally having atomic warfare, I say. So even if you're taking a vegan product and it's got a stabilizer word written on it, that's atomic warfare, because when you take it out, it's stable in the tin or the packet, but when you put it into the body, they all act independently. They are free radicals. They rob electrons from the entire digestive tract, right from your throat till your anus, and they cause inflammation, ulceration, tumors, and cancer. So that's the as it increases in aggravation. So any of these, replacement foods or vegan meat, that's fine as long as it's just a transition food for a person. And the second thing is that, it's not got these preservatives, too much of preservatives and stabilizers. Then it is healthy.
Thank you for answering that. We have a question from, again, Tina Walia. She asks, hi, Darryl, what about protein? Doesn't this diet lack protein?
So, going into the deeper science of it, you will see that just go to my website, becomehealthyerextinct.com. Over there, there's a tab on nutrition. And in that, you will see all the proteins that are there even in leaves. Okay, so much of the protein that comes into the cow or the goat and all of that, where does it come from? They are mostly eating leafy vegetables. So the problem is with the modern classification of food. When they have taken a certain grain or a pulse and they say that the major component is a protein, they completely classify it as a protein. Now, when they take something else and the protein percentage is less and it's got more fat, then they will put it as a fat, but it has got protein in it. So, but people are thinking that so many things that leafy vegetables do not have any protein. So that's the big mistake. Everything that we are eating, has a balance. It's got a concentration of something. That's why it's put in that food category, but it's got the balance as well. So if you eat a balanced, meal, even with leafy vegetables, with basically fruits, vegetables, uh, nuts, beans, peas, roots, grains, seeds. By vegetables, I mean, even tubers and all of that, underground vegetables, over the ground. Um, you will have a complete nutrition. There are already people having excess of protein because of eating too much of grains and too much of dals, and that is creating, their protein in their system going high and even having kidney problems. So focus more on eating all fruit groups, and I mean food groups, and then you'll have enough of protein and enough of carbs in your diet. And yeah, so people who are wanting to have a body in excess of normalcy, like bodybuilders, right? They can do whatever excess protein they want. So they have a special regimen for that. And that is fine. So we have a lot of vegan bodybuilders also who are taking a lot of protein and a lot of carbs for their body. That's fine. But as we know, that they are going to see declines in their health, maybe at 60, 70. That's not a lifestyle that will take you beyond 100. And the kind of diet that I'm talking about is definitely going to take people, over 100 years. And of course, that's the notion of people who think about 100 years. They think you'll have a walking stick, and your face will be dried up and you have lost half of your hair. But no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being healthy till 80, 90. And of course, if you're healthy and doing well at 90, 95, you look forward to it.
Thank you, Darryl. We have a question from Ashish Mukherjee. Often it is said that vitamin B plus is absent in vegan diets. What's your take on this? And what do you suggest in vegan food to complete this?
So yes, for more of vitamin B12, you have still to stick with that principle that I shared with people who will live in nature, like this eco village, or people who are living already in the village. And if they are eating organic, fresh foods and some of it raw, and drinking, the normal well water, then they will have the right strains of bacteria that make B12. So till people cannot, maybe this is the pain that humanity is going through. Of course, the solution is to have, B12 injections and capsules and all of that. But that is an artificial practice. So we have to understand we are doing an artificial practices because we have broken up or damaged the ecosystem. If there is such a thing as evolution and intelligence and working for the good of people and the planet and all, then people have to do the right thing. So I would urge you to watch, all the videos of the New Earth Summit right from 2019. It's on our website, thenewearthsummit.com. Watch 2019, 2020 videos, and you'll get all of these. And these videos of this summit also recorded will start going up soon on the same YouTube channel, which is called the New Earth Summit. So the key is to get back to a natural life. Now, of course, people are living in the city. Then the only way you can, get it is if you are getting a supply of mineral water that's actually, natural mineral water and not just bottled in some factories. That does not come from a natural source. So, the right kind of water is important, and organic, well mineralized, and raw food, some intake of it every day. That is the second important thing. If you want to solve this naturally, till the time you cannot solve this, then you'll have to take B12 supplements. So, what some other videos of this and even previous years summits, and where I'm explaining that what are the other reasons that the cities are making people sick. That's why people are leaving Delhi, Bombay, and Pune, and they all want houses in Goa or wherever in Shimla or some other natural place, because it's the concrete jungles that we live in itself that has cut out all these five elements, that has bringing us, either artificial food or natural food, but that has got a lot of chemicals and that have got no nutrients. And because they've got those chemicals, and we end up cleaning them with certain solutions and we kill all the bacteria. So literally, city-based people are not getting any supply of living bacteria. And bacteria supply goes out from your body every day through your feces and even off your body. Um, and things like, idli and vadas and all this dosas that people make, no, it's not got any living bacteria in it. The bacteria were alive when you were making the batter. And when you cook it in the cooker, all the bacteria also cooked. So that is not probiotic, supply. So till that time, I have, a range of probiotics and naturally fermented foods that will give you also the strains of this that will make B12 for you. So tomorrow we'll be talking about that probiotic foods, and a couple of our panelists will be giving you some very good sources. So please join us tomorrow.
Thank you, Darryl. We have another question from Somesh Nanda. How capable is the modern human body in returning to vibrant health after almost a lifetime of wrong diet, pollution, and substance abuse? Could you please share some examples that you've witnessed?
So somewhere on my computer, I have, I didn't keep it ready, so I'll have to search many folders. Many of my patients over the last 10 12 years who have been sending me their testimonies and transformation, and why they send me, because they were able to do exactly the same thing that I have done, which you'll see on my website, Become Healthy or Extinct, in a tab called Reverse Aging. Okay, so there it shows me following all the old techniques, all the old wrong practices of food and lifestyle choices, and how at the age of 35 I was looking like I'm a 45-year-old guy. And then when I changed that, within 1 year, you see, within 1 year, I had my transformation started, and within a couple of years. So even at that time, you have to understand that I was still trying out things and perfecting the technique. So, from 2005 to 2010, it took me 5 years to, perfect and balance all these things that I've put in my book. But anyway, in the first 2 years itself, you can see me getting healthier and looking younger. So, so those pictures that I put on my website, you see, that inspired a lot of people. And within following my practices, what I've taught them, within 6 months, people were losing excess weight of 15 kilos. They were having better complexion, their hair fall reducing, their pimples going away, having better digestive experience, and more energy. So some of the testimonies on my website. So just to answer your question, that yes, now that is put in a very clear way in my book, anybody who walks down that line will see amazing transformation within 3 months. Okay, in 3 to 6 months, you will definitely, within 6 months, you will look 5 years younger, and within another 6 months, you will lose 10 years younger, and you will, of course, within 3 to 6 months, you'll get rid of all your health problems. So that is how fast this can happen. We have to understand one simple principle that is written in my book. The human body was designed every day to heal itself. The problem is that we won't even give it half a chance. So the first aspect of healing happens in the first principle in the natural health therapy. There's a chapter in my book, and that first principle says, just stop doing the wrong things to the body in terms of food and these different lifestyle choices, and all those things are there listed in my book. And if you just stop doing that, the body from day one, it starts healing itself. This is what the body is designed to do. Okay, so we have to give it a chance by taking off all the wrong things, and then of course the next step is that eat the right foods, do the right habits. So that's acceleration in your healing experience. Then the third thing is detoxify all those organs within your body that are old and clogged. So there's a cleanse therapy chapter on my book, cleaning up your kidneys, your liver, your stomach, intestine, colon, gallbladder, all of that. So as I did that over a year, all my internal organs became younger, right? So within a year, you can, achieve amazing things. And that's why if you look at my pictures, even today, you see, I look like I was when I was 25, 30 years old. Even though I'm 51, most people don't believe it. And their level of energy and the amount of work I do in a day, right from morning, I'm working from 7 a.m. in the morning to 12 o'clock at night. Okay, so these kinds of transformations will happen. They've happened for me. They've happened for people on my, this uh, testimonies on my website. And just now I'm thinking I should open a tab where all of the special cases, I don't go asking people for testimonies, but at least about a dozen of them have sent me all their pictures over the last 10 years. I have to find it out. Maybe I'll make a section on my website. So you guys can even talk to those people. They're all very proud of what they have done, what they've achieved. They know that it's not happened by some healing hand of mine, but it is actually happened through sciences, the correct sciences. Simple and easy to do. So yes, there is that's the time frame. If you are ready to put in the work, then you expect miracles within 6 months to 1 year.
Thank you. Somesh Nanda would like to know if there's a possibility of deficiencies on avoiding farm fresh meat, fish, or eggs. Given the range and diversity of cultures and ways of living around the world, is it possible to create a single diet pattern which would benefit all kinds of human beings?
So yes, Somesh, that is what I've shared today. But what I've shared is the overall main principle. So the bigger principle is that on top, that human beings are vegetarians, okay, and that's our true nature. But there's much more detail, scientific detail on it in my book, uh, and so that's the top principle. Then the second principle is that in your locality, what are the local seasonal foods there? Because the five elements, you see, they are going cyclically in your region, and then all the plants in your region also are going cyclically and balancing the five elements and the seasons also of your place. So people will be healthiest when they are following the local heirloom variety of foods which are seasonal. So that is very important. So by that, so the local foods, that's the difference in different places. But overall principles are this. Uh, what is food for human beings? It is what I have shared today. It's vegetarian. It's not meats at all. No animal produce is required for human beings to be healthy. And all people who are going down that path are seeing, healthier life and longer life. That's the first principle. Second principle is this: what I said. Local foods are the ones that will balance your life and give you good health. Third principle is during your phase of sickness, you will have to subtract certain nutrients from your diet, which your dietitian or natural health therapist will advise you. Then the fourth is fine tuning your five elements in your body, kapha, pitta, and vayu through foods, and the right amount of cooked and the right amount of raw food in your life, which depends on the location that you are in. And that's the last statement I wanted to make on my presentation, is that we can return to natural foods when we return to natural environment once again. And that's the reason of creating these ecological communities, because of course we do not just want to go and live in the jungle and go back in time. We want comforts, we want arts and culture, education, so many things that we think are wonderful in life. So this eco village design, just go to my website if you want to see it, darryldesouza.com, and there you will see the section on Goa Eco Village, and there's a download link for a document that has got the very brief design in 6 pages. Have a look at that, and you will get an idea of what our balanced community is about. Okay. So that's the future that we see for all places across this planet. And whatever is done in the concrete jungles that are there, that's fine. They have got a certain life. They will live their life, whether it's 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I can just tell you that all people who will live there will be sick. Of course, you can make it greener and all of that. We've got some projects for that also, where I'm collaborating with these other organizations in India, and we're going to have a meet in December in Delhi. So if you're interested in that, please get in touch with me. Uh, if you're on the science part and the design part of it and the future. So there are designs for the existing places, making people healthier in the cities and making greener buildings and greener spaces. But from a scientific perspective and a deep design of ecological balance from the planet, that city model is the one that has brought us to this level of destruction, and it has no future. So just remember that if you want to transition now, is a good time to transition to a natural life. Like I left, I knew this very clearly. That's why I left Mumbai in 2010 and came to Goa. Um, so all of us can make, healthy, a very scientific and practical choice right now to move at the right time to the right location. Um, because once you move to the village from the next day itself, you have better environment, better water, better surroundings, more nature, uh, and you're away from the pollution and stress life. Your only question is, how do you make that kind of money in your city? And that's a topic that I have kind of detailed in one of my webinars, from a madhouse to a mud house. It's on my YouTube channel. Okay, Darryl D'Souza. So please look up that, and I've shared over there that when I came in the first year to Goa, or to any place you can stay in the village, how within a year you can make the same income that you were doing at your corporate job. Within 2 years you can make a double income. So because the opportunities are there so much, you can have 2, 3 levels of income uh, where you go. You can take up any project, whether it's natural home building, water systems, education system, food systems, this local goods, products, services, cottage industry. The whole world is out there to serve you if you have the right ideas and collaborate with the right people, and you go for this organic natural model, which has got a good life and design for this planet, for the next 2,500 years at least. And then when we come to that period of time, the design will get refined to show us the pathway for the next 3,300 years, and from there on 4,400 years. But at this point in time, you see, this is what happens. At every change in the yuga, the sciences, the right sciences for that time period that's ahead of us, get presented by the yogis or the scientists, and so that's when people have to take them up and go in that direction. Do your own verification, and see all our summit webinars. They are all coming from people who have implemented projects. So they're all living sciences that have been done. So it's just that you have to either join a group of people who are in the village doing this, or form a group of people who will take up this work.
Thank you, Darryl. We have a few questions, a few people asking the same question. How would they make an appointment with you, and where can they buy your book?
So I'm terribly tied up right now for because I'm working. Of course, the summit goes till the end of November, and then after that, I have a lot of meetings with these groups collaborating, and I'll be traveling. So I will not be taking any new cases till the end of this year, and I will think of it in Jan next year. But for some people who are in a hurry, on my becomehealthierextinct.com website, there is my online health workshop, which is an intensive workshop of about 16 hours. So they can do that. My book is out of stock since 6 months because I was going to add another 5 chapters to it. And I have not been getting the time because of this pandemic that has come in between, and I'm working with all of our researchers. I work with the Awaken India movement, and there are so many fraudulent aspects of this pandemic, and we are, dedicated our time and our energy to it. Uh, and I have got, yeah, my existing, patients also, though they get less and less in number because people are getting cured, so they want me to treat their family members. So sometimes I can't refuse that, but new cases I'm not taking so far. So please download my book from my website. You can take a printout of it, get it bound and all that, and read it and help yourself. Or if you're in a hurry, please you can register for my online workshop. The details are given there.
Thank you for answering that. Mayank Pincha would like to know, has the food ever been classified into anything similar to fats, carbs, vitamins, proteins, minerals in our Eastern culture? If not, is it okay to classify foods as such?
So yeah, I spoke on that earlier. It's the biggest mistake of modern nutrition to classify all these foods into these groups, because the basic thing is that, yeah, besides the fat, something has got some vitamins and fiber also in it. So that is the big mistake. We have to go more with our local, Eastern sciences, and look at having those foods which are available locally. And unfortunately now, because there is commercial produce from all over the world. I mean, you go to your fruit store and the stuff from all over the world is there, and it's selling, and that's what you're buying. And then you go to your shopping malls and similar things. Of course, packaged food products are something that I say that people should not touch at all. But even in your locality, most of your supply of your vegetables are coming from other states. So people don't really know what is local anymore. So there is a big revolution that needs to happen, which we will take up now. We've got one of our webinar topics based specifically for that: how to grow healthy food with heirloom seeds, that is local seeds. So this is what we need to do. We need to really, you know, somehow fire up the movement and go back to our villagers who had the traditional seeds and bring those kind of crops and plant-based foods back into our localities. So when you have those local foods, then all that you have to be bothered is about seeing what's grown in season, and that becomes your balance of food for that time. Of course, overall you can have these different food groups, but so like I said, fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans, peas, roots, grains, seeds, roots, all of that. If you take care of all of that, then you'll have a good balance. So just keep it traditional, local. Not because you see, we are suffering from the lack of this. That means there is no way forward by saying that, oh, this is the problem. Now, how do I deal with it? No, you should not accept it. And you should not think this is the way forward. You have to be part of the change and do the right thing, because that's the only future that this planet can have if we're talking of a longer future. Otherwise, there's no future. So, yeah, the modern classification of food has been the biggest tragedy and fake science that we have been subjected to. And we need to get back to Eastern practices and more local practices and listen to our villagers. And they're not growing because they're not getting sales for it anymore, because we have bought all the marketed notions of what is food. That's the first thing. We need to knock off all those marketed versions of food. Anybody who is buying any processed food is, I mean, making the first basic mistake, not only for themselves and their life, but also for the planet. So please read my book, understand that very clearly, what some of my YouTube videos, especially the one that says small changes for a big impact in your health, food, environment, and the planet. That will give you a very good insight.
Thank you, Darryl. Our next question is from Sumandeep. Do raw and frozen foods have the same nutrition?
No, yeah. So fresh raw has the highest amount of nutrition, and if you will freeze it, then of course people say once you've frozen it that the energy is gone down by 30% is left. So that's all false. It's not such a big drop. It depends, So some foods you will have a drop in nutrition and nutrients remain, but the live pranic energy that falls. So you can have drop from 20% to 30% in the value of that food. Uh, yes, and some processes that certain kind of foods they lend themselves better to storage. The foods that have got more liquid in them, uh, uh, then the cellulite breaks up in the freezer, and then when you take it out, it's not the same anymore. So there will be different foods, but definitely I can say that the depletion in nutrition is anywhere between 10% to 30% or even 40%. But yeah, most will be from depletion from 10 to 20%, 25% max. Otherwise, claims of people that nutrition drops, there's no nutrition, there's nothing left in it, that's completely fake. You can do, this laboratory test on it and see that, the amount of life that is there.
Thank you for answering that. Our next question is from Pratibha Huda. Apart from blood tests, is there any other way to know that you have a deficiency in the body?
Yes, I mean, first, even before the blood test, some dysfunctions will start in the human body as symptoms. So, not having enough, and when you get up in the morning, being groggy and not being awake, okay, that could be many things. Of course, you must have not got enough of sleep. But even if you're getting enough of sleep and you're not able to get up in the morning and be active and awake, you need a coffee or 2 cups of tea and that sugar and all to bring you up. Then that's a clear sign that your energy system is deficient. That you're having either too many this heavy foods and your kapha dosha is gone up. So first look at your kapha with vayu balance, and once you've taken care of that, then lack of energy and all could be because of uh, nutritional deficiencies, meaning that can happen in two ways. Either you're having foods that are not having enough of nutrients, or you're having enough of nutrients, but you have got inflammation in your stomach, in your small intestine, or your colon that does not allow you, or your liver function is low. That will not allow your nutrients to be absorbed completely, and you may have low energy. So this low energy is one indicator, and so many other symptoms, headache, acidity, all of that. That will tell you that you're not well. And finally, that's why I teach acupressure, because whenever there's any imbalance in the system, and if an organ is malfunctioning or going into lesser function, then through the acupressure diagnosis, which gives organ to organ on your left hand side of your body, right hand side of your body, you can check your right kidney, left kidney, all of that. So through that, I'm able to make out where people have weaknesses in their body. So in my online workshop, I've taught the complete science of acupressure, enough for people to do it on themselves and practice on others as well, meaning just for practice to check points and all of that. So yes, besides blood tests, symptoms and acupressure diagnosis will help because once a person knows that, okay, your question was more about how to understand that there are nutritional deficiencies. So yes, it would mainly be through your symptoms. And the next is any of these weak organ functions, especially liver, kidney, small intestine, colon, that can be checked by acupressure. And if they are weak, then those would be the organs that are contributing to lesser of nutrient absorption and supply through blood and all to your body.
Thank you, Darryl, for answering that. We have a question from Vishwanant. Can we mix fruits and vegetables in a salad and have it?
So generally, I advise against that. So that's why I put fruits as first thing in the morning, and that should be the general practice. And in the afternoon, you have your raw salads. Um, but in my book, there are some combinations which have been found to be helpful for treating certain conditions. Only in those when you have those conditions, so as a medicine, you kind of can add as per that combination. That's in my book. It's the chapter is called blending. Otherwise, yeah, in general practice, if it's not for rectifying some health condition, we should not be mixing these fruits and vegetables. And also in fruits, I have made it very clear that have one fruit at a time. Okay, that will give you the best, the fastest breakdown and the fastest absorption of nutrients. When you mix up food that has got a shorter digestive time with a longer digestive time, uh, food, then the faster one breaks down faster and it starts getting oxidized, while the other one is still breaking down. So you lose nutrients from here. This is explained in the chapter in my book. So please read that up. So that's why fruits and vegetables, and even the similar fruits themselves, don't mix them up. The fruit salad bowl is not a good idea.
Thank you. Suman Deep would like to know if we can reverse autoimmune diseases such as Hashimoto thyroid through diet.
Yes, so diet plays a major uh, part in reversing autoimmune diseases. But just look at the index of my book, and you will see that the other complementary therapies also. So I use acupressure also for healing the thyroid, and besides diet, um, yeah. So, but diet will play the main part. And so, besides that, acupressure, you can also do a meditation for the throat chakra. And there are also some herbs that can be used for healing the throat. Very simple herbal medicine is on my website. Go to the section of herbal teas, and I've got about a dozen herbal teas there, and each of the teas explain the health benefits. And there are a couple of teas that will help thyroid function. So you can have those herbal teas as well. The first question, actually, I would like to take that. Now, could you tell me the name of the illness again? The first one, I did not get it clearly. Or maybe I need to clarify it from the person who's asked it. It was with M something.
Melasma.
Yes, so I'm not familiar with that. If they could just explain what happens in melasma, whether it's a skin infection. Yeah, whoever's put that question, please explain what is the symptom being uh, seen with melasma. In the meantime, we could take another question.
Sure. Tina Walia, would you like to answer what kind of symptoms you are experiencing with melasma? Okay. So next question is.
I think she has said that is pigmentation, right? So I think that was the last comment in the Q&A box, or whether, yeah, melasma is pigmentation. Right. So pigmentation is definitely connected to liver function. So yeah, the first thing is that is there something unnatural in the diet that is being eaten? So please shift to a complete plant-based diet first. The second is uh, learn how to do acupressure for the liver and for the kidney as well. And mainly it would be liver function and gallbladder. And also, uh, yes, this should be enough. Um, so learn to do acupressure for that, get on a proper diet, and also then once you have done about 10 days of acupressure for the liver and gallbladder and the kidney, then you can do the retained coffee enema in the cleanse therapy chapter of my book, because that does the first a back flush to the liver to clean it up. clean up the enterohepatic circulation. And then after the retain coffee enema for 3 days in a row, give a gap of 3 days, and then you can do the liver cleanse, liver and gallbladder cleanse. So that will help, stop the pigmentation issue, because your liver needs to be detoxified for this problem to go away.
Thank you. Our next question is from Ashish Mukherjee. He'd like to know, Darryl, can you share lessons from your own natural farming experience for food self-reliance?
That's a big question, and we'll have to take it up in the organic farming section. Ashish, you can, just write to me at my email address, maildarryl@gmail.com, and ask for the basic, organic farming booklet. Where 2 years back, I formed a group where for a whole month I was teaching the different principles of organic farming, and you'll get the basics over there. Okay, so please email me for that, and I'll send it.
Our next question is, how does one know one's body type?
So please go to my website, becomehealthierextinct.com. Over there, there's a section called Dosha Diet. And once you go there, there are the tests there. There are questions, about 20 questions, 20, about 60 questions. And they are questions on emotional level, mental level, and physical level. Once you complete that questionnaire, you will get your body type over there. And then how do you work further with that if anything is in excess, and how to balance it, that is also given in that section.
Thank you. We have a question from Mayank Pincha. How do you view acidic and alkaline foods?
So yeah, please look at that chapter in my book, Acidity and Alkalinity, and you'll get the food charts over there. So in general, we are having too much of acidic foods. We are overdoing it, and the body balance needs about, maybe in the winters it can do with a little more acidic. So it can do 70% alkaline and 30% acidic. But generally, the principle is talked as 20%, acidic and 80% alkaline. Now, when you get into that food charts on my in my book, you will see there is mildly acidic, moderate acidic, and highly acidic. So the highly acidic ones are that which we have to reduce to a great extent in our life. And yes, alkaline, highly alkaline is good, and moderate and alkaline is also good. So the combination of these two things, as per the season, what is local, what is seasonal, go more for vegetables, fresh vegetables if you want to remain more alkaline. Grains are more acidic, too much of dals. That's why the vegetarians also get, ulcers, because they're eating too much of grains and too much of dals. Drinking too much of milk, having too much fried food, too much sugar in the food. These are all the main things that will cause high acidity. And alcohol, of course, which is pure acid.
Thank you, Darryl. We have a final question. Vishwa Shah would like to know, what if you don't feel satiated by eating home food?
Then, okay, this is a very interesting question. So it takes a shift of your entire sensory organ, which is your mouth. Okay, now what happens is that if we are eating the normal food that people cook, and in India, there's an overdose of spices. Okay, so there's an overkill. So much of spices are put into the food that over a period of time, that your taste buds, just imagine them, the taste buds, they take a back seat because you have put in so much spices on them. So they take a back seat and they are depressed. So as long as you are going to have these things, your to feel more tasty, you're going to have to put more spices. By the time that you just knock off more spices and you give your body about 21 days or a month, then your taste buds that are depressed, they recover from that and they come up and become a little alive. Then after that 1 month period, you will find a simple cucumber is tasty, and you do not want any salt on it. You do not want any chaat masala on it. You can eat a carrot, a cucumber, tomato, and so many things just as they are. Now, so that is the sensitivity coming back. Now for 1 day in between, even 1 day you put all those masalas and have that, your taste buds are going to take a back seat again, and it's going to take them 5 days to recover. So so to make things more tasty, you have to do this. You have to slowly decline the amount of masalas and all. No doubt. See, in their natural state, they are herbs and medicines. For example, I use turmeric for killing germs and all of that. Then we use pepper for certain kind of treatment with khadi sakar, which is to reduce heat in the body. Then so many other neem, tulsi, bale. Okay, let me come to the spices that we are using normally. So all of them are medicinal, but they have to be used in a certain formula. Now, because somewhere in our past we've heard that they're medicinal, or Indians think that you just put all the Indian spices and that's the healthiest dish. But that's the worst thing that you can do, because it creates a lot of acidity. A lot of them they contribute to too much of this, you know, uh, toxicity actually to the human body, because once you cook them also, they've lost their natural, the heat has changed their molecules to some extent, and then you put all a concoction of it together. So these kind of spices and all are not good. That's why even I take very less spices and tasting things in my food, uh, so that I can my taste buds can actually feel the food is much more tastier with lesser spices. So that's when you will feel the real taste of food. And if you're growing it organically, that's when you'll really enjoy every meal. So this is the thing that not only Indians, but people all across the globe need to do, is that reduce all the number of spices they put in their food. Otherwise, it goes on a never-ending spiral that more spices, the more backseat your taste buds take, and they go even further behind, and then you just have to. That's why people don't feel, satiated. And the second important principle is that when you're eating your food, you should be engaged only in eating your food. Because if you're reading the newspaper, watching the TV, talking to anybody, your senses are not present. It's going to be like you have not even eaten the food, and you're going to feel hungry again. And oh, did my lunch get over? I didn't enjoy it. So I was, very lucky to experience from a good friend of mine in Delhi for the first time when I did one of my workshops in Delhi in 2012, Anandana, where I attended his first food meditation, that he did in my workshop, during my workshop. So that, I think some videos, at least I've got some photographs. I don't know. I've done a video on it. It's on my YouTube channel, okay, of this meditative way of eating food. Please watch that video, and that should be the practice every day. Each one of us needs to follow. And definitely with that practice, lesser spices and all, you will get more taste from food. So that is, being present to your food is one of the deepest practices if you want to feel satiated and satisfied.
Thank you. So we've come to the end of today's session. A big thank you to Darryl D'Souza, and thanks to our audience as well for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow at the same time on the same link for our day 12 topic, unhealthy food. Namaste and have a lovely evening.
Namaste. Thank you, Sophie. And thanks to everyone for hanging in here. And I hope to see you. I hope I've generated enough interest for tomorrow's talk, because that's where we will get into the specific of foods. and yeah, for your good health and for a deeper understanding of what we started in this topic today. Goodbye and God bless.